Hello, ella, seo, hola, namaste, bonjour, hola. Yes, it all means hello. Hello, students. Hope you're all doing good. Welcome back to our English class. Last class, we saw about Bravo Manju. I hope all of you liked the lessons. Today, we are going to look on grammar. Before we start our class, I'm going to show you all 3 sentences. Let's read the sentences given. The kids read book every night. It means the kids read book every night. Second one, the kids read books every night and then they go to bed. This gives us some additional information. Moving on to the third one. The kids read books at night before going to bed. Same information is also given in the third one, but here we see it given in a different manner. All the 3 almost says that the kids read books every night. What is the difference between them? You might be wondering the same too. Let's see what is the difference. The first one is said to be the simple sentence, while the second one is compound sentence, and the third one is a complex sentence. Seems like there are many types of sentences, right, students? So, I hope all of you might have guessed the topic of a class today. Yes, the topic is sentence structures. Today, in our class, we are going to see what is a simple sentence, what is a compound sentence, and what is complex sentence. So first, as a start of our lesson, let's start with simple sentence. A simple sentence is a sentence that consists of just one independent clause and no dependent clause. Okay, I hope all of you remember your last class where you saw about what is an independent clause and what is an dependent clause. A quick brush up. Let me give you the meaning for them both. Independent clause stands on their own and it is meaningful on its own, while a dependent clause does not give meaning on its own. Rather, it depends on the independent clause. So, I hope you understood the meaning of independent clause and dependent clause. So, what is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is a sentence that consists of just one independent clause. So, it can stand alone as a sentence as it has a subject and a predicate. And a simple sentence expresses a complete thought. That is, a simple sentence makes meaning on its own. Let's look at the examples. Amol lifted the pillow for her. Here, we come to know that Amol lifts a pillow and shows something for Manju. This sentence stands alone without any connectors or linking words, and it expresses a complete thought. That is why simple sentence is called an independent clause. Going on to the second example, Manjula liked painting. Here, this gives a complete thought that Manjula likes painting. Moving on, Mrs. Palkar was cooking. Here, this sentence also is complete and is describing the action that Miss Palkar is doing. So now I hope all of you are clear with simple sentence. A simple sentence consists of one independent clause. It's just a sentence which makes meaning on its own. Moving on, next is the compound sentence. What is a compound sentence? A compound sentence is a sentence that has at least two independent clauses joined by a comma, semicolon, or coordinating conjunctions. So what does it say? Compound sentence is a sentence that has two independent clauses. Simple sentence had just one independent clause, while compound has two independent clauses. But two independent clauses should be connected. So here, coordinating conjunctions or a comma or a semicolon is used to connect them. What is a coordinating conjunctions? The words used to link the two independent clauses are the coordinating conjunctions. They are for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Let's move on and see some examples. Mrs. Palkar gripped her daughter firmly and she looked her straight in her eye. So here, before and after the word and, we have two independent clauses. The first is Mrs. Palkar gripped her daughter firmly. Here, we get a meaning that Mrs. Palkar has caught hold of her daughter tightly. And the second part tells us that she looked her straight in her eye. To connect these two independent clauses, we have used the coordinating conjunction and now it is a complete sentence, and that makes a compound sentence. Moving on to the second one, Manjula liked painting, but her father wanted her to learn cooking. Here we see the interest of Manjula and the wish of her father. So there are two sentences, but to make them one, we are adding the word but, and it makes a meaning that Manjula liked painting, but her father wanted her to learn cooking. So the next example, Manju wanted to paint, yet she gave up hearing her father's words. Here, when we take the both sentence, we will just know that Manju wanted to paint and she gave up hearing her father's word. But we put them together, we get a meaning that even though she wanted to paint, she gave up hearing her father's words. So, compound sentence is nothing but combining two independent clauses and making them a single sentence. So I hope you are clear with compound sentence. Moving on, next we are going to see what is a complex sentence. A complex sentence is a sentence that is made up of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. So first, we saw a simple sentence and it had just one independent clause. Second, we saw compound sentence which had two independent clauses linked by coordinating conjunctions. Third is complex sentence, and here complex sentence has one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. So how are they connected? The independent clause is connected to the dependent clause by the use of subordinating conjunction such as although, because, before, even though, if, since, until, that, which, who, after, or when. So using these subordinating conjunctions, the dependent clause is connected with the independent clause and it makes a complete sentence. We know that a dependent clause cannot give a meaningful sentence, so it has to depend on the independent clause. But it can't happen alone. So the subordinating conjunctions help the dependent clause and the independent clause to get connected. So let's look at the examples. When at last she gave up, her eyes fell on a newspaper cutting. Here we see that the second part is an independent clause. It can stand alone. Her eyes fell on a newspaper cutting. This can stand alone, but the other part, at last she sat up. This is a dependent clause. It can't stand alone. It doesn't make meaning when we say at last she sat up. So we are going to link them. How do we connect them? Using the word when. When at last she sat up, her eyes fell on a newspaper cutting. So this connecting of the dependent and the independent clause makes a complex sentence. Moving on to the second example. Manju refused to paint until she knew about Belanga. So here we come to know that Manju was refusing to paint, but until when? Until she knew about Belanga. Moving on to the third example. You will win if you participate. Here we don't know when she will win, but while we link them, it is said you will win if you participate, and this makes a complete sentence. So the combining of one independent clause with one or more dependent clauses is called the complex sentence. I hope all of you are clear with what a simple sentence, a complex sentence, and a compound sentence is. So now, let's look at the exercise. Okay. The question is, they have given 6 sentences, and we have to find out whether the sentences are simple, compound, or complex. Reading on the first sentence. Though Manjula was talented, she was not sure that she would be able to paint. So here we see 2 parts. First is Manjula was talented, and the next, she was not sure that she would be able to paint. Manjula was talented, and the other part, she was not sure that she would be able to paint, gives a meaning while adding the word though. Though is a subordinating conjunction, and where did we see it? Yes, we saw it in the complex sentences. So, here we have combined an independent clause with a dependent clause. So, it is a complex sentence. Moving on to the second one. When Manjula showed her first painting to Mrs. Palkar, she was surprised. Here, we are combining an independent clause and a dependent clause using the word when. So what is it? Yes, it is also a complex sentence. Let's look at the third sentence. Manjula read the newspaper cutting about Richard Belanger. Here we see just one full sentence which makes a good meaning, and there are no connectors used in this sentence. So what is it? Yes, it is a simple sentence. Moving on to the fourth sentence. Mr. Palkar was afraid because he would have to spend more money on the items used for painting. So here we see 2 independent clauses being connected by a coordinating conjunction because. So what is it? Yes, it is a compound sentence. Moving on to the fifth one. The on-the-spot painting competition was to be held at Amol's school. Here, we don't see any connectors, and we find a single sentence which is independent and gives meaning on its own. So what is it? Yes, it is a simple sentence. Moving on to our last question. Manjula was determined not to give up, so she participated in the on-the-spot painting competition. The word so is used to connect 2 independent clauses. So, what kind of a sentence is it? Yes, it is a compound sentence. I hope you are all clear with what is a simple compound and a complex sentence is, and you will be able to differentiate between all these 3. So, you will be posted a form in your Google Classroom. Kindly fill the form and you will be marked on it. That's all for today's session. Thank you, students. Let's meet in the next class. Until then, take care. Bye.